In the last section, I talked about the 5 stages of marital satisfaction. Do you remember them? Enchantment, disillusionment, obligation, friendship, and love. In the next couple of lessons, I want to talk about 4 toxic relationship patterns that prevent you from moving forward from disillusionment or even obligation to friendship and more mature love. These 4 patterns come from marriage research from several years of investigation at the University of Denver in Colorado, USA. From their studies, the researchers developed a well-known marriage enrichment program called the Prevention and Relationship Enhancement Program, or PrEP for short, which has been taught to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. These researchers have followed couples for many, many years. In one study, they followed 150 couples for 13 years before marriage and after, gathering massive amounts of information about their satisfaction, adjustment, commitment, sexual practices, communication, and so on. They've also video recorded these couples interacting and subjected their conversations and interactions to many, many hours of analysis. In fact, they're able to predict with high accuracy, which couples will remain together and which will divorce. Well, I share this with you because these researchers have come up with 4 toxic patterns, and I want to share these with you now. These are patterns of handling difficult moments and conflict that lead to divorce. In fact, I think of them as how to remain stuck in disillusionment because they don't allow you to move beyond disillusionment to better ways of interacting, and yet they're very, very common. So here are the patterns: escalation, invalidation, withdrawal, and negative interpretation. I'll describe each, and then I want to share some examples, all of which, by the way, come from the book of these researchers, Fighting for Your Marriage. Escalation is the first one that I'm going to talk about in this lesson, and escalation is when arguments turn into a war of words. A comment or a criticism is received defensively, setting off an increasing spiral of self-defense and or blame and accusations against the other. Each round of interaction ups the ante so that things get worse and worse. Each person perceives him or herself as right and their partner as wrong. Their agenda becomes about winning the argument, but to the detriment, I should say, of the goodwill and friendly feelings within the relationship. One of the most dangerous things, damaging things as arguments escalate is that partners say hurtful things that threaten the very lifeblood of their marriage. In truth, they say things in the heat of the moment that they don't really mean, and yet which hurt. And once a negative comment has been made, they're really hard to take back. For some couples, escalation is subtle. Voices may not be raised, but the negative-to-negative interaction is real nonetheless. But even low-level criticisms and defensiveness become destructive over time. The more they occur and escalate, the greater the couple is at risk for future problems, and it will gradually erode any kind of friendship or goodwill. So I want to give you an example of escalation. Ted says rather sarcastically, "You'd think you could put the cap back on the toothpaste." Wendy, equally sarcastic, "Oh, like you never forget to put it back." Ted, "As a matter of fact, I always put it back." Wendy, "Oh, I forgot just how compulsive you are. You're right, of course." Ted, "I don't even know why I stay with you. You're so negative." Wendy, "Well, maybe you shouldn't stay. No one's barring the door." Here's an example that's a little bit more subtle, but it's escalation nonetheless. Max, "Did you get the rent paid on time?" Donna, "That was supposed to be your job." Max, "No, you were supposed to do it." Donna, "You were." Max, "Well, did you get it done?" "No, and I'm not going to either." Max, muttering, "Great, just great." I want to be realistic. All couples are going to argue and even escalate at times, but happy and stable couples are able to recognize the pattern more quickly and find a way to steer out of it. That usually happens when one partner backs off or says something to de-escalate or break the tone, the negative cycle. It could be softening their voice. It could be acknowledging their partner's point of view, maybe throwing in a little humor. I'll be talking more about ways to do this later. So in the next lesson, I'm going to introduce you to the second toxic pattern.